My husband set the divorce papers beside our baby's ultrasound photo, as if he were dropping a restaurant bill on the table. The kitchen of our house in Lomas de Chapultepec smelled like toast and white flowers. I had one hand resting on my 5-month pregnant belly, still small, still a secret to many people, but already real enough to change the way I breathed. That morning, I had left the hospital happy, carrying the blurry image of our baby inside a blue envelope. At the next appointment, we can find out if it's a boy or a girl, I told him. Leonardo did not even look at the photo. He loosened the Hermes tie I had given him on our 3rd anniversary and opened his briefcase in the Marble Island. I want a divorce. 3 words. No yelling. No tears. Just High's executive boardroom voice, cold, measured, trained to close deals and destroy people with the same calm. Are you kidding me? I already spoke to my lawyer. The offer is generous. He slid a folder toward me. I saw numbers, properties, percentages. He was offering me the Valle de Bravo house, child support for the baby, and an amount of money that, according to him, would compensate him for my contribution to the marriage. My contribution? I laughed, but the laugh came out broken. For 6 years, I had hosted dinners with investors, endured his absences, smiled in front-off partners who treated me like decoration, and gone through fertility treatments, injections, silent losses, and broken hopes. And now that I was finally carrying his child, he was talking about my contribution. I don't want to make this difficult, Camila, he said. Difficult? You're leaving me while I'm pregnant. Something crossed his face. Not guilt. Irritation. I never wanted children. I felt the baby move. Or maybe it was just my heart falling through my body. You cried when I showed you the pregnancy test. I was overwhelmed. Then I thought things through. And what did you think? That it would be easier to replace me with Renata? His jaw tightened. Renata Lujan, his 26-year-old assistant. Blonde, polished, with a questionable master's degree and dresses far too tight for a finance office in Santa Fe. The same woman I had invited to Christmas dinner because Leonardo swore she was like a younger sister. Do not drag her into this. She's already in this. Leonardo closed the briefcase. Renata understands my life. You want something different now. I want you not to abandon your child. I'll provide financially. How heroic. Hess stood up as if the conversation were over. I'm staying at a hotel. My lawyer will contact you. Then I remembered something. A pending dinner with Roberto and Diana Marquez, owners of the tech group Leonardo had spent 8 months trying to acquire for his fund. It was a massive deal. His final leap toward becoming a senior partner. Diana and I served together on the board of the Children's Hospital in Polanco, but Leonardo had never bothered to ask about my connections. To him, I was only his pretty wife with an art history degree and too much free time. Does Renata know about the Marquez deal? I asked. Leonardo stopped. That is no longer your concern. Interesting. Diana called yesterday. She wants to see me before signing any next step. His confidence cracked, just a little. You know Diana Marquez personally? For 4 years. You never told me. You never asked. He looked at me as if he were seeing me for the first time. But he still did not see anything. He did not know that my father, the supposedly simple professor from UNAM, was Rodrigo Herrera, the quiet heir to a fortune built on railroads, ports, and real estate. He did not know I had a protected trust worth more than 1.4 billion pesos. He did not know that the modest life I had chosen with him had been proof of love, not proof of need. Camila, we can talk calmly. You spoke to your lawyer before you spoke Tome. Now you can speak to mine. You don't have a lawyer for this. I picked up my phone. Catalina Sandoval handled my father's estate. I'll call her. The name made him blink. Catalina was not just any lawyer. In Mexico, powerful families did not hire her to fight. They hired her to win. Leonardo tried to soften his voice. Don't do anything impulsive. I opened the door. What was impulsive was asking your pregnant wife for a divorce because of your assistant. He left with a pale face. When the door closed, I sat on the floor, wrapped my arms around my belly, and cried. But underneath the pain, there was something older than my marriage, the cold blood of the Herreras when someone tried to humiliate them. I called Catalina. I need to start my divorce and activate my trust. There was a short silence on the other end. Tomorrow at 9. And Camila, if Leonardo thinks he can discard you without consequences, he has just made the most expensive mistake of his life. Catalina Sandoval's office in Polanco looked like a museum designed to intimidate. Dark wood, original Mexican art. Expensive silence. She listened to everything without interrupting me. She only tightened her grip on her pen when I mentioned that Leonardo had left me pregnant for his assistant. Does he still not know about the Herrera Trust? No. Catalina gave the smallest smile. Then we're going to educate him. Within 1 hour, we reviewed my assets. The trust generated enough income that my child would never have to depend on Leonardo. We also activated accounts, froze suspicious movements of marital assets, and prepared a claim citing abandonment during pregnancy and adultery. "Where will you live?" she asked. "In my grandmother's house in Polanco." The house had been closed for 2 years, with balconies facing a tree-lined street and rooms that smelled of cedar, old books, and lineage. When I walked in, Mrs. Lupita, who had cared for me family for decades, hugged me as if I had come back from a war. "The baby's room is already being aired out, my girl." That same afternoon, I called Diana Marquez. "I need to speak with you and Roberto before your meeting with Rivas Fund." I gave no details over the phone. At their house in Las Lomas, I told them everything: the divorce, Renata, Leonardo's contempt for my pregnancy, and his certainty that I was a powerless wife. Roberto Marquez listened with his fingers interlocked. "Character matters in business," he said at last. "If a man betrays his pregnant family, he can betray a deal too." Diana took my hand. "We will not put our company in the hands of a man like that." The next day, the deal Leonardo expected to close collapsed. The official reason was lack of cultural alignment. The real reason was sitting with me, drinking tea. My phone exploded. "What did you say to them?" Leonardo shouted when I finally answered. "The truth. You're ruining me." "No, Leonardo. I only stopped protecting you." That night, He showed up at the house in Polanco. When he saw the high ceilings, my father's paintings, and Catalina sitting in the living room, he understood far too late that I was not the vulnerable woman he thought he had abandoned. "You lied to me for 6 years," he said. "I hid money. You hid a mistress. It was a mistake." "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. What you did was 8 months in another woman's bed while I injected myself with hormones to have your child." His face changed. "Who told you that?" Catalina lifted a folder. "We have dates, hotel invoices, and messages. We also found that you attempted to transfer 4 million pesos from the joint account after asking for the divorce." Leonardo looked down at the floor. For the first time, he did not look powerful. He looked exposed. "Camila, we can fix this. I don't want to lose my family. You don't want to lose my last name." Before he could respond, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Diana. "Renata just contacted Roberto and offered internal information from the fund in exchange for a job. It looks like your husband was not the only one using someone." I showed the screen to Leonardo. The blow landed perfectly. The woman he had chosen over me was already selling him out. He was speechless. "Tomorrow," I said, "you will sign whatever my lawyer demands, or everyone will know exactly who you are." The meeting took place in Aprivate Room at the Club de Industrials. Leonardo arrived with dark circles under his eyes, a wrinkled suit, and a lawyer who seemed more concerned with containing him than defending him. I walked in with Catalina, wearing a navy maternity dress and my mother's pearls. They were not jewelry. They were armor. "We want an amicable solution," his lawyer said. Catalina slid our proposal across the table. Primary custody for Camila. Acknowledgement of abandonment during pregnancy and adultery. No romantic partners introduced to the child without authorization until the child turns 5. Clear division of marital assets. Leonardo waives any claim to the Herrera estate. Leonardo read it and went pale. "This is excessive." "Excessive was bringing your mistress to the same dinners where I was talking to you about fertility treatments." He lowered his eyes. "Renata means nothing. Now that she betrayed you, of course she'd assent." His lawyer took a deep breath. She knew we had the advantage. The Marquez deal was dead. The fund had removed Leonardo from the acquisitions team. And Renata, in her desperation, had sent emails offering confidential documents to the competition. She had not only destroyed his home. She had put his professional judgment in doubt. "If this becomes public, my career is over," Leonardo said. "Your career is not my concern. My child is." A long silence followed. "I accept custody," he murmured. "But I don't want Michael to think I'm a monster." I felt rage, Booty also felt tired. "Then start by not acting like one." He signed, not with nobility. With defeat. But he signed. The divorce moved faster than I imagined. Leonardo moved to Monterrey after accepting a lower position at another firm. Renata was fired, and no serious company wanted to hire her once it became known that she had offered confidential information. I did not make a scene online. I did not need to. In the circles of Santa Fe and Polanco, sometimes a whisper weighs more than a headline. I began working formally with the Marquez Foundation on the art project for the Children's Hospital. I chose murals full of color, soft sculptures, and hallways that did not feel like a hospital but like hope. As my belly grew, so did a version of me I had never known before. A woman who no longer asked for permission to take up space. 3 months later, on a cold January dawn, my water broke while I was reviewing plans for a pediatric room. Diana sent her driver. Catalina arrived at the hospital with documents. My grandmother appeared in a wool coat with the calm of a queen. Herrera women do not break during childbirth, she said, taking my hand. They multiply. At 3:17 in the morning, Mid-Otter was born. Not my son, as everyone had imagined. My daughter. Tiny, furious, with black hair and a cry that filled the room like a bell. Isabella Herrera, I whispered against her forehead. Leonardo received the notice through Catalina. He answered with a short message. Thank you for telling me. I will respect the agreements. I hope one day I deserve to know her well. I did not reply. Maybe one day he would become adolescent father. Maybe he would not. My daughter would not grow up depending on promises. I took her back to the Polanco house 4 days later. The room that had once belonged to my mother was full of light. Above the crib, I hung a small landscape of Oaxaca that my father had bought when I was born. Mrs. Lupita cried when she saw her. Another Herrera in this house. Life did not become perfect. It hurt. Some nights, I remembered the Leonardo who kissed my forehead during the treatments, the man who pretended to want a family while sleeping in another bed. But every time Isabella wrapped her hand around me finger, I understood something. Losing a husband who did not know how to love me was not a tragedy. The tragedy would have been staying so Mid-Otter could learn that a woman should be grateful for crumbs. Months later, we opened the children's wing of the hospital. At the entrance, we placed a sentence. No child should grow up feeling invisible. When I cut the ribbon with Isabella asleep in my arms, I saw Diana smiling, Catalina applauding, and my grandmother crying without hiding it. That day, I understood that the trust had not saved me because it was money. It had saved me because it gave me time, defense, and freedom not to negotiate my dignity from a place of fear. Leonardo believed I was a pregnant wife who would be easy to discard. He was wrong. I was the daughter of a family that had learned to survive entire generations without kneeling. Now, when I walk through the house with Mid-Otter against my chest, I no longer think about what I lost. I think about what she will inherit. Not just money. Not just a last name. A story where her mother chose truth over appearances. And if one day she asks me why I did not beg for love, I will tell her, because, my daughter, any love that demands you make yourself small is not love. It is a cage covered in flowers.